Hi, this is Anthony with BBSN, and just a quick update and a wrap up. Just recently finished the Battle of the Ages project, Aaron Judge versus Reggie Jackson, which Judge actually won quite decisively, and we'll go over those numbers in a couple minutes. But quick channel update, first of all, we are to the point 3 months since starting the channel. We're at 98 subscribers right now, so getting real close to 100. So wanted to first of all thank everyone who's watched the videos, liked, left comments, and subscribed. And also when we do reach 100 subscribers, we're going to do another giveaway. And I've got a fairly extensive baseball card collection. A lot of it from the late 80s, early 90s, and what I thought I'd do there is just pick out 3 good to could have been good cards, and just once we get to 100 subscribers, whoever wants to enter the giveaway, we'll just do a drawing or similar to what we did last time for the 1906 Cubs, 1919 White Sox, and 1922 Browns team sets. Do something with Strat-O-Matic figured in there to determine a winner. So the 3 cards that I wanted to give away for my collection, I actually had thought about giving some cards from the Conlon collection away. And if you're not familiar with the Conlon collection, Bill Conlon was probably one of the most prolific, well, could say he was the most prolific baseball photographer for the first half of the 20th century. And his subjects and pictures range from players in the dead ball era all the way up into the 40s and 50s. And that card set, I thought about giving some of them away, but again, it took me probably a good 6-7 years to put the entire set together. So couldn't bring myself to break any of that up, but it's pretty decent and interesting cards beyond that. The first one will be, this is Mark McGwire, and while it's not his official rookie card, it's technically his rookie card. This is his 1987 card, and in 1986 he was up for a cup of coffee with the A's and didn't have enough at bats to actually qualify for rookie status that season. So while he did have a baseball card out in 1986, 1987 is technically his rookie year. So this is the card that goes with that. And as you can see, a little bit, let's just say, a lot more life than he was later in his career before he got on those good, that good major league diet, if you know what I mean. But still cool. I have a couple of these and have had them for, over probably 20 years now. So I wanted to offer up one of those. In addition to that, this is from the could have been great category. This is David Need's rookie card. And David Need, if you remember, was probably the talk of baseball in 1993. He had come up with the Atlanta Braves the season before and got into 6 games at the end of the season. Went 3-0 in the majors with a 1.17 ERA. And prior to that, in the minors, he'd had, I think, a 2.84 ERA. I guess I could look. Yeah, 2.84 ERA. And he was the Colorado Rockies' first selection in the expansion draft that season. And big things were expected of him. Never did materialize, so I got this actually in 1993, thinking it might turn into something of value at some point in time, but unfortunately arm troubles, inconsistency, which happens a lot. Pitchers especially are a crapshoot. So his career did not turn out to end up being what it was supposed to be, but still kind of, I guess, a cool footnote card to have in there. And then probably, well, I would say the prize of the 3 cards, the Mike Piazza rookie card. And I almost didn't remember that he had only was only a rookie in 1993. It seems like he started so much earlier than that. It seems like he's been retired for so long. Obviously, he has been retired for a while, but yeah, this is the Upper Deck Mike Piazza rookie card, and a good addition, I think, to any collection. So that will be the third card in the giveaway. So we'll do those again when we get to 100 subscribers. And, again, I really want to thank everyone who has subscribed and watched the videos. And also to the friends of the channel that do their own videos. Al Red Sox Fan, Strat-O-Matic Delaware, ID Jester, Higher Ground Gaming, Clinton Parks, Cards and Dice Baseball, Tabletop Baseball Plus, DPSH Commissioner, others that I've subscribed to, and also that give a shout out to Bleacher Bums Gaming in their videos. So thank you to all the subscribers. Thank you to those other YouTubers that put Cards and Dice Baseball as well as other products up there. Always very entertaining to watch. So please make sure if you are on our page, go ahead and check out my subscriptions in the left-hand corner or left side of the page, and give those folks a subscription, or check out their videos if you have not already done so. So that said, let's put to bed the Aaron Judge and Reggie Jackson project. So we will go over the stats, and then also the channel update, talk about what's coming down the road in terms of future projects on this channel, including one of the two I have going on right now. So these are the final numbers in the Battle of the Ages contest between Aaron Judge and Reggie Jackson. And if you have not watched the videos, or as a reminder, basically they each took turns against the pitching rotations, starting rotations of all of 2017's pitching staffs in the American League. And then once that was concluded, went back and did the same thing against the 1977 staffs, which is the year of the Reggie Jackson card I have. So the contest, really, Judge got off to a great start. You can see here, this was the very first matchup, Baltimore. And Jackson got off to a better start in this one. Judge kind of evened it up in the second matchup against Boston. And then starting with Chicago and on to Cleveland, you see the differences. 7 for 25, Judge against Chicago. Reggie was 2 for 23. And Cleveland, 6 for 20 for Judge, 3 for 22 for Jackson. And from that point, just kind of started running away with it, and he really got this big separation. Reggie made a surge here against Kansas City, and then went 0 for 21 against the Angels staff. So from that point on, it was pretty much all Judge. And you can see the total numbers again. Each had 634 plate appearances. Judge ended up with 529 at bats, 157 hits, 26 doubles, 5 triples, and 56 home runs, which pretty much on point with his 2017. 136 strikeouts. He did a little bit better there than in real life. Was hit by a pitch 5 times and ended up with a 297 average and a 413 OBP. Reggie, 548 at bats, only 120 hits. He just really could never put a consistent string of series together in this. He did end up with 120 hits, but the only category he was better than Judge in, the positive category, was doubles. Reggie ended up with 40 doubles to 26 for Judge. No triples. 25 home runs, which was below his output for 77. 85 walks and a whopping 160 strikeouts. So he won the strikeout battle there too. And many more than he had in real life. I think, looking at the card, I know it was over 60 more than he actually had in 1977. So struggled there. Reggie was hit by a pitch once, ended up only with a 219 batting average and a 325 OBP. So the 3 areas that we were judging this contest on were home runs, decisively to Judge, over twice as many. Batting average, again decisively to Judge, almost 80 full points. And on base percentage, almost 100 points better for Judge. So congratulations to Aaron Judge, the Battle of the Ages first edition champion. Two Yankee sluggers, legends going at it. Well, one legend to be, hopefully. And Judge, the decisive winner. So that project is put to bed. And so currently it kind of leaves us with the 1922 St. Louis Browns Time Machine and the 1969 Payoff Pitch Cubs replay. One thing I thought about, I really don't want to have two, I guess, long-term grinding projects going on. So I had to make a decision on what to do to shorten one of them, because there's other short-term projects I want to work in just to keep things fresh, both on the page and also, for my own gaming pleasure. So I had to pick one to see to fruition and one to do something else with and modify it. And initially, I guess if you had asked me initially, it would have been an easy choice and I would have gone with the Cubs. But what has happened in the St. Louis Browns replay is they've kind of surprised me. And this will be the next game. We're not going to play that tonight, but they're getting ready for Game 3 of their series against the Boston Red Sox. And they're doing so well, and especially in these last two series, they took 3 out of 4 from the Yankees and have won the first 2 games of this series. So they're not only competing with, but taking care of the 2 biggest competitors in the American League East for them in Boston and New York. So that said, with them sitting at 13-3, 16 games into that, I'm really intrigued to see how this plays out and if they continue to stay so hot over the course of a full season. They are hitting .336 as a team right now, which is absolutely phenomenal. And they do, again, have a great lineup. Going with the designated hitter, 7 of these 9 players had batting averages over 300 in 1922, which is really just unheard of. And it's phenomenal in any era. They were outside of the Yankees, and even including the Yankees, in 1922, the Browns were the premier offensive team in Major League Baseball. So they have kind of outperformed my expectations a little bit, and because of that, I want to play every game and see if they can actually win the American League East, win the pennant, and then possibly the shot at the World Series that they were deprived of in 1922 because of a very strong Yankee squad in front of them. So as you can see where they stand now, the Blue Jays, who they replaced at this point, were 8-8, and in third place, 2.5 back, Milwaukee. And the Browns are 13-3, which would put them 2.5 up on the Brewers at this point. So again, this will be probably play this tomorrow. So I'm going to play the entire season of that project. And so that means with the 1969 Cubs, thinking of different things to do with that. And to me, the most apparent thing would be to just continue that and condense it into a Ferguson-Jenkins replay. Fergie is definitely one of my favorite hurlers from the time period. He had a really, really good season in 1969. He's having an equally good season in this replay. So that 1969 payoff pitch Cubs replay, we will just morph into a 1969 Fergie Jenkins replay. And we'll do some things along the way there to, especially if the Cubs in the reality or alternate reality are in a position where they might knock off the Mets for the pennant. If that does happen, or the divisional title, I should say, if that does happen, we would then play all of the games in the NHL or the NL Series and also the World Series. And I've pretty much figured out how I'm going to do that. I will simulate the games Jenkins does not pitch in, either with Strat-O-Matic computer version, I do have the 1969 teams there, or with Out of the Park 19. Do a quick sim and just deduct all of Jenkins' starts from the overall record there. So that's what will happen with that one. And in terms of other short-term projects coming up, the next one I will mix in here as kind of, again, the refresher, or a little project to keep things fresh between the Ferguson-Jenkins replay and the 1922 Browns replay, is I do have the Strat Hall of Fame set. And so the side project I will do with that basically is kind of an homage. In 1976, there was a movie starring Billy D. Williams called the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars. And it was loosely based on the barnstorming Negro League teams of the 20s and 30s. And even after that, because the characters in the movie were kind of a conglomerate of various stars throughout the history of the Negro Leagues. Billy D. Williams' character, the main character, he actually was a loose representation of Satchel Paige. There was also a character in the movie that was similar to Josh Gibson, and another one similar to Cool Papa Bell. And obviously, I haven't seen the movie in 40 years, but I do remember it was a very entertaining movie, so I don't know the other actors' names. I apologize, but I do know that their characters were based loosely on Gibson and Bell. So I thought, as homage to that movie and also to the great players that played in the Negro Leagues that never got the opportunity to play in the majors, we would do a little barnstorming series. And right now I've got Hall of Famers, Negro League Hall of Famers, and a team of American and National League Hall of Famers featuring, in my opinion, the best players available. And again, there's a lot of room for debate there. So those two teams are in it. And I also decided to make a team of Hall of Famers from pre-1900, players that played most of their careers prior to the turn of the 20th century. So we will throw that in there, kind of a pioneer all-stars, if you will, or I guess the OG all-stars. How's that? The 19th century ball team. So that will be coming up, and these will be a 5-game series, and we'll just see who of the 4 teams has the best record at the end of it. Basically, it's not so much the other teams playing against each other. It's the Negro League teams kind of barnstorming and playing 5-game sets against the other 3 teams. So let's just lay out the lineups there. Catching, we have, of course, Josh Gibson and Biz Mackey. And the one thing with a lot of these players, it's so versatile. So many of them played multiple positions, and it made it both hard and easy to select this team. I mean, there's a lot of players that can go to other spots if need be. But primary positions listed here. First base would be Mule Suttles and Buck Leonard. And then at the shortstop and second base positions, in no particular order, we have Ray Dandridge, Pop Lloyd, and Willie Wells. And over at the hot corner, Judy Johnson and Deacon White. And in the outfield, and we will just scoot these down here, in the outfield, right to left, Cool Papa Bell and Judd Wilson. In center field, Oscar Charleston and Cristobal Torriente. And left field, Turkey Stearns and Pete Hill. So a very, very formidable lineup amongst these players. And utility players, both Jose Mendez and Martin DeHigo pitched, but also, as you can see, played multiple positions in the infield and outfield. So they are on the team as both utility players and pitchers. The starting rotation for the Negro League team will be these 5 gentlemen. Bullet Joe Rogan, Satchel Paige, Smokey Joe Williams, Big Bill Foster, and Hilton Smith. And then in the pen, we will have the aforementioned Mendez and Dihigo. And then also the designated closer will be Leon Day. Ray Brown, middle reliever, and Rube Foster, who is really probably the man most responsible for giving the Negro Leagues a footing. He started really the first tightly organized Negro National League at the turn of the 20th century, and a well-deserved Hall of Famer. Does not have the stats some of the other guys have. He did not pitch as much, but you can't have the team without him. So that will be the, we'll say the Satchel Paige Traveling All-Stars. And I think it should be fun to see how they do against some of the other teams of the area. And someone had mentioned, I was in a chat, oh geez, I think it was actually one of ID Jester chats in the current Warframe video series he has going on. And someone in that had mentioned possibly doing this, and someone had mentioned what teams they're going to use for the 19th or 19th century squad. So thought I would go over that real quick. One thing that was really funny about that time period is the middle infielders in the Hall of Fame for that time period are very sparse. Those were almost treated back then as almost like a throwaway position, in that primarily there for defense. You really had no prolific batsmen to speak of that played the keystone position or shortstop. So, but first of all, pretty solid pitching staff. Tim Keefe, Mickey Welch, Old Hoss Radbourne, John Clarkson, and Pud Galvin will be the starting rotation. And the thing, obviously, in the 19th century, a very different time period. The bullpen will be sparse. Amos Russi, the Hoosier Thunderbolt, he will be the designated closer. And he's kind of a 19th century version of Mitch Williams, Wild Thing. As you can see, tons of innings, tons of walks, tons of strikeouts. So he should be a very fun one to play, and these will be played on super advanced sides. So, you know, just looking at Russi's card, got some walks and strikeouts in primo positions there. Excellent column 5 against righties, and pretty solid against lefties too. Again, strikeout in the 5 spot, walks in 7 and 8 in the 4 column. So he's going to be someone who makes things exciting when he comes in, which probably won't be much, because these pitchers were expected to complete what they started. And in looking at some of the averages of these cards in terms of innings pitched, and again, this was based not on their career but on their best seasons. But you can see, starting from Keefe, and this is his average prime season, 474 innings pitched, 457 for Welch, 454 for Radbourne, 495 for Clarkson. That's seriously, for a modern player who is considered an inning eater, that literally is 2.5 seasons of pitching in one, Clarkson. And a 37 and 18 record, you know, and of course, and Galvin 497 as well. So he's a big innings eater too. You know, and obviously they did not play every day back then, so the pitchers did have rest, but they were definitely overworked. They did not throw as hard then. The ball was, you know, one ball was generally used for the entire game, and it got misshapen, and by the end of the game was hardly recognizable. So, you know, they didn't bring their A pitches on every single pitch to every batter. But the other players that will be on this pre-20th century squad, catching Buck Ewing and King Kelly, both very strong players here, especially Kelly. And Kelly, an excellent base stealer for a catcher, a solid batter, and also could play the outfield. As you can see here, a -3 arm in right field. Behind the plate, a -3, so he's a pretty solid catcher. These two will split duties there, and probably Kelly will get the majority of those reps. Because I will be using a designated hitter in this particular project. I kept 3 first basemen, and again, there was a dearth of solid offensive, well, just a dearth of 19th century Hall of Famers at second and short, but definitely plenty of solid Hall of Famers at first base. That was probably the primary offensive position in terms of where players played in the field as well as the outfield, obviously, but these guys, one of these guys will probably usually play designated hitter. Cap Anson, great ball player, unfortunately very much instrumental in probably as much as anybody at that time of segregating the major leagues, which will be a very kind of cool irony in this project. But he was one of the primary I guess antagonists to get Fleetwood Walker, who was actually the first widely recognized black ball player to play Major League Baseball, and was by all accounts an extremely good player. But Anson was one of the biggest vocal presence in getting him basically blacklisted, no pun intended, from the league. So. And joining him at first will be Dan Brathers and Jake Beckley, all 3 very solid offensive prospects. The middle infield, again, and in fact, so sparse, the rest of the infield actually. John Ward will play shortstop, or second base, sorry. George Davis will kind of be the utility guy. He'll play some shortstop and third base. Huey Jennings can play short, second, and first. He won't be needed there. And then Joe Kelly, who was primarily an outfielder and, go figure, first baseman, he will get some time at the hot corner as well. So between these 3, they will eat up. And also Tommy McCarthy here. He can play some second and third base as well. So these 5 actually will make up the middle infielders on the 19th century team. And the outfielders, and again, there is a plethora of good choices there. He did play into the 20th century, but most of his career was in the 19th century. Willie Keeler, one of the early stars of the expansion, I guess you could say, American League Yankees as well. And again, very solid hitter, not going to do anything in terms of power, lots of singles there. Decent enough defensive player, an E3 in right field, does have a -2 arm. So he'll be in the outfield. Sam Thompson, a very prolific hitter, 354 average over the course of his prime seasons, and decent power for that time period. Billy Hamilton, and Hamilton probably one of the 3 or 4 best offensive players, at least looking at his prime in that time period. As you can see there, a 367 average for the prime years, which rivals anybody's, and not a very good defensive player. Again, at that time period, the defense was focused mostly in the infield, second, short, and third. But Hamilton was not there because he could play any defense. He a 3 in center field, a +2 arm. E8's not so bad, but good base runner, good solid hitter, and that's what he was expected to do. Duffy will be in there, 349 in his prime, and he'll play left field, center field. Orator Jim O'Rourke, one of the great characters of the 19th century. Again, it's pretty solid averages here. Most of these guys are in the 330 to 350 range. O'Rourke is no exception. And O'Rourke actually not too bad of a defensive outfielder. Isn't going to throw anybody out, but you can see he also did some catching. So he is flexible as well. Played on the infield, first base. Not much range there. Fred Clark, who's, again, he did play into the 20th century, but the majority of his career and his definite best years were 19th century, as you can see. And he also went on to be the player manager of the great Pittsburgh Pirates team in the first decade of the 20th century, one of the big three in the National League in the first 10 years of the 20th century, the dead ball era, along with the New York Giants and Chicago Cubs. In fact, it was pretty much from 1902 on to 1914. One of those 2 years, it was either the Giants, Cubs, or Pirates that won the pennant. So he's in there. And then the most prolific offensive player of the 19th century, Jesse Burkett, had a couple of seasons well over 400. And as you can see here, his prime seasons, this is over 555 at-bats, 384, which is absolutely absurd. So exceptional offensive numbers for Burkett. You can see there against left-handed hitters, you get him in 1 and 2, and especially 2, he's going to get on base. Solid 1s and 2s against lefties as well. And, nothing special in the outfield defensively, adequate. He's a 3 range, no modifier to his arm, and an E8. Also an E8 in right field, and he runs fairly well. So solid enough player there. I didn't get the rosters for the other, the AL and NL modern day all-star teams. Their names that pretty much you will know. On the AL team, obviously Ty Cobb, Ruth, Gehrig, Walter Johnson on the mound, and the usual cast of characters, Eddie Collins, etc. The NL team has Willie Mays, Hank Aaron on there, Hannes Wagner at short, of course. Behind the plate, I believe Johnny Bench is one. So, again, players that are normally regarded as amongst the best of their positions. And there's some glaring omissions as well, players that should be on there that didn't make it. And I may kind of throw together a leftover team if this project goes well and is moving quickly. But again, that's going to be a side project. The 1922 Browns Time Machine will kind of step in as the primary project, and then the Ferguson-Jenkins replay, and then this project here. So variety is a spice of life, and so that should be fun doing those 3. And happy to get, again, the Judge Jackson project wrapped up, and just one more look at their numbers. So that's it. And a reminder, too, of the giveaway once we get to 100 subscribers. So if you know anyone who might like the channel and doesn't mind an occasional chiming in by Daisy, especially when the Cubs are playing, she likes to throw in a bark or 2 there, and then recommend the channel and ask them to subscribe. And again, appreciate it. The cards, again, that will be in the giveaway when we do get to 100 subscribers: Mike Piazza's Upper Deck rookie card, David Need's What Could Have Been Upper Deck rookie card, and Topps Mark McGwire technical rookie card, not official rookie card. And someone needs to give Mark some protein powder in this picture, which he did find later on. So As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, which will be the third game in the Red Sox-Browns series, keep rolling for the fences. Take care, everyone.